Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After into the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. Lots of great news today. I'm sure it's going to be an interesting week after this podcast uploads. A lot has happened, and I'm sure a lot is going to happen in the coming week. Maybe no news until June. Obviously, the Dolphins with the cap situation, it seems like more moves will be made when the Byron Jones money comes in after June 1st. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. This first news story comes from Pro Football Rumors, and one of the signings that we're going to talk about today. Very excited about it. Definitely something Dolphins fans have been wanting for a long time. In smaller news, Dolphins signed tight end Tyler Kroft. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. It's a 1-year deal. Definitely adds good depth. We needed a physical tight end. Tyler, who's not actually the worst receiving tight end in the world. He's bounced around the league the last few years. Obviously, he's played in the system, was with San Francisco this past season, so he knows the system really well. And he's a run blocker, and that's something the Dolphins need. We needed this kind of guy last year, like a Marquise Gray, someone who can just come in and just block and bring a physical presence. And Anthony Fasano, even though he's nowhere near, prime Anthony Fasano was a really good receiving tight end too. But we needed a physical tight end who we could rotate in there and block at a high level, and we really didn't have that last year, other than Durham. But we can really get into some heavy sets with Durham and Tyler and run the football. And, that's something that we really haven't seen too much of. And Tyler definitely brings that. I can actually see him making the team for sure. And they needed depth at that position. Now with Tyler Kroft and you add Elijah Higgins in and Durham Smythe, I feel like that's a nice unit, especially if Elijah can develop into something special, which I actually, the more I watched of Elijah Higgins and seen Campbell, I'm getting his name, the tight end, the receiver / tight end, we obviously going to convert him to tight end from Stanford. I always forget his name. I get his name mixed up, but that's a nice group, and it makes me more comfortable because all three of those guys can do different things, and I hopefully Higgins can, develop into something pretty good. Because we still are missing that threat at the tight end position in the passing game. And Higgins, despite him being a receiver, and I've said this before, he's a big dude, 6'4", can run block, and he's not gonna. I don't think he'll have issues with the physical part of it, which is a good thing. And that's why I have hope that he can actually be the tight end that we need him to be, especially in the passing game. We can really get him on the field, and he's not like Mike, where he's not a threat to block, because I think he can do that. And his run after the catch ability is something that we haven't had at the tight end position probably since Charles Clay, is to bring that physical prowess to that position. Mike Gesicki had no run after the catch ability. And that was a problem. And tight ends, that's really a lot of their yards, especially all the really good ones, are after the catch. Literally every great tight end in the history of the league, you have to be able to get stuff after the catch. You're supposed to be that security blanket. Maybe Jason Witten is the only one I can think of that wasn't, the best at that, and who was a great tight end. But literally all of them are pretty good after the catch in their own way. And that's something else that they were missing at that position. I think Higgins can definitely do that. Be interesting to see what they do with Ezukama, with all the additions that they've added. That competition for like who's going to be, if we go 5 wide or 4 spread, shotgun situations, who are those guys that are going to line up out there? They have a lot of different options. Who's going to play the slot? It's going to be interesting to see in preseason. I think we all think it's probably going to be Braxton. This is a little bit of an add-on that I wanted to kind of tag to this, Barry Jackson, the Miami Herald, he I think it was a tweet or maybe it was an article, but he said that he pretty much gave an update. The Dolphins are still looking for tackle depth, and they're working on the Christian Wilkins stuff. They're definitely. It seems that, at least from what we've read and heard so far, they're kind of waiting for after June 1st to get the Byron Jones money back. Obviously relieves a lot of things. Get the draft class signed and move forward from there. But we do have news on the tackle position. This actually gets me quiet. Like, I think this is a good move by the Dolphins because it does have potential for upside. This next news story comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins agreed to terms with tackle Isaiah Wynn. Obviously a former first-round pick in 2018. He started 40 games in 40 starts in 43 games is the best way to say that. Obviously, he played some guard in New England. He's only 27 years old. Dealt with a lot of injuries. Did not have, if you care about PFF, didn't have a good grade last year. He had a very bad grade of 54.6. Definitely had a lot of it. I actually like Isaiah Wynn. I'm not a big PFF guy. I'm not saying that, it's not there's definitely something to it. I'm not saying it's absolutely ridiculous, but some of their grades on certain players are kind of weird, in my opinion. But at the very least, this adds a phenomenal depth across the offensive line. At the very least, in my opinion, the signing of Isaiah Wynn. He's had moments where he's looked really good in New England. I will say, just to kind of put a caveat on that, a lot of offensive linemen that play for New England tend to look a little bit better. They've kind of been running the same scheme for a long time down there. And this is a player that's developed into that scheme. But when he was good, he was really good when he wasn't hurt. And I like his game. I think he could potentially, maybe, could start and give us some good, time there. But I think this is the best thing about the signing is the depth. In case Austin gets hurt again or someone in the interior maybe gets hurt, I think Isaiah Wynn can step in, and he's one of the better backup tackles / guards in the league. So I think this is a phenomenal signing. It's only a 1-year deal. He did have other offers out there, which is interesting. But yeah, a young dude who has upside, can play multiple positions, is great depth, and it's a great competition for Austin Jackson. And it's really going to be a good measuring stick to see how good he is as a player, and especially for the coaching staff and Chris to be like measure him against someone like Isaiah Wynn, who's younger. And if he does get pushed by Wynn and it's close, that could potentially be like, okay, maybe it's time to move on. We'll see what happens, but I think this is just a great signing across the board for depth and could add competition to that room, which is nice. This is I really liked it. Again, if he's healthy, this is a good scheme offensively. This could be a really nice signing because, again, this offseason has been phenomenal. I've loved it. A lot of great, awesome moves. It's still going on, obviously. We're about to talk about here in a second with the news of Dalvin Cook being released. It seems that might be a potential avenue, which I'm totally cool with if they end up doing it. But the number one issue of this offseason, and it should have been the number one issue that should have been solved, is the pass protection. Clearly, last year was ruined by the lack of depth at the quarterback position. When Tua got hurt, there was a significant drop-off in production at the quarterback position. Teddy played terrible. Skylar had ups and really bad downs. He played good a drive, and then he looked. The Jets game, there are certain games that he played. It's just like you roll your eyes because even the Buffalo playoff game, he made really stupid decisions in that game. Did not see the field well. I could talk about this for a long time. They left a lot of points on the board that they missed too. So And obviously the addition of Mike White is really nice as well. The offseason has been great. Like, they've addressed a lot of things that needed to be addressed. Josh Boyer was like the biggest elephant in the room. They addressed that in the best way they possibly could, and getting Vic. But there is obviously the issue. The biggest issue was the Tua thing and the health and the concussions, and not to address the other side of the offensive line, which was a problem last year, and and to put your faith back into Austin Jackson of all people, it just was a little crazy. Now we'll see, because, and I've said this, and I've said this probably every podcast that we've done this offseason, but Austin Jackson was playing well in camp apparently last year. We did do joint practices with the Eagles and teams like that, so it wasn't like he wasn't going up against, he was going up against good front seven people, and he was playing well in the offseason. So hopefully he's finally developed into the player that we need him to be, because that's really what this season is going to come down to, is how healthy will Tua be, and how healthy is the offensive line going to be, and that's really what it's going to come down to. I think the defense is going to be really good, which should improve the team's record. To get extra possessions for this offense is insane, and better field position, which would be a big deal because our field position last year was terrible. And get those turnovers up as well. We really didn't catch any breaks on that side of the football either until really pretty much, well, after the Texans game, it was pretty barren too, which is when we had that losing streak. But which was a combination of a lot of different things. It wasn't just the defense, but there was some other things that were going on. But yeah, like, hopefully this at least gives us a good insurance policy if Austin Jackson gets hurt, and maybe this is Isaiah Wynn could turn his career around. But yeah, it's good depth. It's not often you get someone that's 27 who does have decent upside, and has played at a high level at his age. So we'll see what happens. I hope so. Now, I don't know if this means that the Dolphins won't go out there and get someone like Taylor Lewan, and maybe they'll do that after mandatory camp. Maybe they want to look at Austin Jackson one last time. I don't know. We'll see. Who knows if this is the last tackle that they add, but this is a really nice signing for sure. This next news story comes from a lot of different outlets. This particular one that I found is from the Fin Fanatic, and this comes from a report that a trade had fell through for Dalvin Cook. Some guy named Justin Cohen, I don't know how he knows this, but it's been everywhere, that the Vikings plan on releasing Dalvin Cook, which will save them $9 million in cap space. It seems to be real. A lot of people and outlets have been reporting on it. That doesn't mean it is real, obviously. But I don't know. I've just thought I would throw it in here that a lot of people are talking about Dalvin Cook being released. The Dolphins obviously had a lot of interest in him. And Dalvin Cook seems to want to play for the Dolphins. And some of the clips that I don't know if you guys have seen them, but obviously he grew up here. That would be a nice place for him early. It would be not a nice place, but a logical thing to think, this is definitely, there would be mutual interest is basically what I'm trying to say between the two camps. I've talked about this before. It would do a lot of great things for the Dolphins. I'm not the biggest fan of A-Chain for an A&M. I've said that before. I don't know if he's necessarily a guy who can take pressure off of Tua. I did not like what I saw from Jeff Wilson outside of the fourth down play that he made on the road in Buffalo in the playoffs. Other than that, after the Cleveland game, it was not great. The Jets game at home is a good example of there were things there that were plays to be made that weren't. And I don't know if Jeff was banged up or whatever it was, but he just didn't look good. And Raheem honestly surprised me last year. I didn't know Raheem had that level of playmaking ability, and he's better than I thought he would be, honestly. So it would be nice to add Cook, who's a superstar, and one of the best players at his position in the league, that automatically relieves pressure from Tua, and that would be a big deal. And he's going to be, and especially in the pass game. This is why I think A-Chain's a great addition, not necessarily from the run game, but for the pass game. There's going to be a lot of open field. Dude, how many times, I don't know if you guys remember, the Chargers game's a great example of this. There was a void, like in the intermediate to short middle of the field. There was literally no one there. It was like the linebackers were like backpedaling like 10, 15 yards as soon as the ball was snapped. And for whatever reason, maybe Mike can look back on that, that was kind of a scheme flaw. We didn't have a lot of running backs kind of coming out of the backfield for an easy completion a lot of the time. That did kind of get tweaked as the year went on. The Packers game's a good example of that. We started doing that more, and whether you want to blame the concussions or whatever, too, it just wasn't making good reads at the end of the game. But that was there. That was definitely fixed, and I think A-Chain can kind of fit that role if they don't get Dalvin Cook. Now, if they do get Dalvin Cook, I think the screen game is going to be a lot better, and just playmaking. The players make plays when there's nothing there. That's what playmaking is, and he can make plays, so that's always a huge plus. If you get as many of those guys as you can, that'd be great. And having a 3 superstar playmakers, Cook, Hill, and Waddle, there's really nothing you can do defensively. And I think what they would do is try to stop Hill and Tyreek Hill, or Hill and Tyreek Hill, Hill and Waddle. That would obviously be definitely what teams would try to do. But then that means you leave opportunities for Dalvin Cook. I guarantee you teams are going to dare us to run the football this upcoming season, and get better with high volume play drives, like 10 play, 11 play drives. Cook can really help with that, and can complement a defense that's going to be much better this year. So I'm totally cool with it. If they do get a deal done with Dalvin Cook, it's going to be way harder to do that with him being, if the news is true that he is going to be cut, then obviously there's going to be a ton of teams that are going to, his market's going to be pretty tough. And the Dolphins don't have a ton of cap at this moment. But when he is cut in June, the Dolphins will have some more cap space. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm totally for it if it does happen. I don't think the Dolphins necessarily would be too hurt by it if it doesn't. A-Chain definitely can fill a nice role as the receiving back, which really didn't exist last year. Raheem Mostert, not natural at that. Jeff Wilson's better at it than Raheem. But A-Chain, I think, has way more upside in that department than those two. So, would be a great signing. I hope they can get it done. But Isaiah Wynn, big deal. Adds a ton of depth and could push Austin Jackson in camp, which is nice. And I think that's something that we needed. Because, God bless Brandon Shell. He didn't do bad last year. He did, other than the Vikings game. That was awful. But he did come in and, play pretty well, for a backup tackle. I didn't think he did too bad. So to have Isaiah Wynn, who I think is an upgrade at that position, at least in terms of a backup from Brandon Shell last year, is great. I got to learn Higgins' name, dude. I keep messing up his name. I don't know why. I guess because it's Elijah Campbell is also a Dolphin, so I don't know. Maybe that's what I don't know. Anyway, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. No fan Q&A today. There was not a ton of news, but I feel like we covered it. Watch out for Dalvin Cook, which probably is a month away from that actually getting done. If he's cut in May, I don't know. We'll see what happens with what the Dolphins can get done. But there definitely has been. They tried to trade for him earlier in the season. Early in the offseason. So they're definitely going to try to get him. I don't think the A-Chain thing necessarily changes anything. They're two totally different players, and one's a phenomenal playmaker, and the other one's on a pretty cheap deal, so it's not like they can't make that work. But anyway, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Love this team. Can't wait to watch it. I've been thinking about, what we didn't go over is the schedule. I guess we'll do that before we I totally forgot about the schedule coming out. We'll talk about that and then we'll end the show. Totally, I don't know why I blanked on that. So yeah, we'll talk about this really quickly. Not really quickly. I mean, we're definitely gonna break this down, but I don't usually do predictions in terms of like, oh, this is what the Dolphins' record will be. So if you guys are looking for that, I'm not gonna do that, but I will. It was like, and you know, I've already looked at it, but let me pull it up here. A lot of interesting, and obviously we play the AFC West and the NFC East this year. So this is the schedule. Only 4 primetime games, and teams like the Vikings and Packers got 5, which don't know really why that happened. And we're going to talk about it, but there was an unfortunate one. So week 1, on the road at LA, the LA Chargers. Very excited for this game. It's a 4 o'clock game. I love 4 o'clock games. I just like watching a game before our games start. I don't know why. I've always liked that. I just like watching football, but I just love 4 o'clock games. So 4:25 Eastern time. Love that. It's in LA, which I'm excited about because, I thought last year we were the better team and just played bad. And that still was a very close game, even though we played as bad as you possibly could, and almost still won that game in various moments. So I'm excited to play them again because I still think we're the better team. So I'm excited for that. Even though it is a road game, they don't really have a home crowd. So other than the time zone thing, there's really nothing to be too worried about there. New England next week is on the road into Gillette Stadium. Now, granted, the AFC is a good conference. Like, there's not going to be a ton of bad teams. So this is actually a big game. It's a big game, obviously, division game. It's an 8 o'clock game. Well, it's an 8 o'clock game, Sunday night game. I had so many thoughts when I just remembered it was a Sunday night game at the same time. Love Sunday night. Love the commentators. Probably my favorite primetime. Definitely my favorite primetime football game outlet or whatever the heck you want to call it. So it's always nice to see the Dolphins play on Sunday Night Football. And I'm excited for this game. On the road in New England. Thank God it's not a December game. It's a big deal. Anytime you get the New England Patriots in September is a big deal, and not in December. Week 3, our first home game, our home opener, and we're hosting Denver, which is great. I hate playing in Mile High Stadium. Like, not that I physically have played there. I don't know why I said it like that, but I hate when the Dolphins have to play at Mile High. It's a good that and like Arrowhead, those are good home fields. So yeah, anytime we can get a team like that at home is a big deal, is a good thing. Like you want in a perfect world, we would like to play all of the bad teams on the schedule on the road. That would be great. So to have a pretty good football team like the Broncos coming to Miami is a big deal. So that's going to be a really fun home opener. Obviously, Vic Fangio might get some revenge in that game, which is nice. Also have very fond memories of playing. If you guys remember, this is such a deep cut that nobody cares about, but I'm about to tell you right now. Ryan Tannehill's rookie year versus the Seattle Seahawks in 2012. Obviously the Legion of Boom, and Russell Wilson's rookie season. It was in Sun Life Stadium at the time. It was Sun Life Stadium. The sprinklers had come on like in the middle of the game. It was awesome. I don't know if anybody remembers that. But I always loved that game. We won on a Dan Carpenter game-winning field goal. It was a really close game. Tannehill was one of Tannehill's better games of his career as a Dolphin. I don't know, it just reminded me of that because of Russell Wilson. So our home opener, Denver. Let's just recap this really quick. On the road, week 1 against the LA Chargers. The next week in week 2, Sunday Night Football against the Patriots, which is going to be really fun. And then week 3 is at home versus Denver, which is also pretty cool. And then we go on the road to Buffalo, which is a huge deal because, again, not to get New England and Buffalo, because the last 3 or 4 years, we've gotten them in December or at the end of November. So it's nice to have these morons at a decent time or a decent month. I will say that Buffalo fans are like, oh, no, we don't have to deal with the heat in Miami. That to me, and then they said, oh, the Dolphins, Dolphins don't have to deal with the cold in Buffalo. To be honest, I don't think. I think the cold factor is not as big of a deal as the heat factor in terms of how it's affected the teams. We scored 35 and 30 on the road. It wasn't really a big deal for us, at least. But nonetheless, it's nice to have Buffalo on the road, well, actually, it would be October at that point, but early on in the year, it shouldn't be too bad. And then after we go on the road to Buffalo, we go back home to New York, or not back home. We go back home to Miami to play the Giants, which is going to be fun. Rarely we get the Giants. We rarely play the Giants, so that should be fun. Then we get another home game, which is nice to have back-to-back home games against the Carolina Panthers. That's going to be a really fun game against Bryce Young and that team, so that should be fun. And it's nice to kind of have, these are definitely, in terms of comparing the other games, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's, nice break from the AFC to kind of go to the NFC, which is a little bit easier. But I honestly don't think the first part of the schedule is actually as hard as a lot of people think it is. But it is what it is. I mean, I think we're like 2-point underdogs against the Chargers, which I think is super disrespectful. But anyway, then after we have our 2 home games against the Panthers and Giants, we go on the road again to play the Philadelphia Eagles. That's going to be a really fun game. And this is also a Sunday night game, which is going to be really awesome. Anytime you win on Sunday Night Football, which we haven't done in a while. I can't remember the last time we won on Sunday night. Man, I'm really having to think about that. It's been a minute. So it'd be nice to get one of these for sure. Or both of them. It'd be nice to get both of them. But yeah, so going on the road to Philly is going to be a fun game. It's going to be a nice measuring stick. And we matched up with them well in joint practices. So it's going to be a fun game. And then we're going to Hard Rock. We're going home again after we play the Eagles on Sunday night. We're going home. This is week 8. We're going home to the Patriots to play the Patriots. At the end of October, basically November, just a really nice time to play New England at home. This is a big deal, scheduling wise. This is a huge deal. I mean, imagine if those games were flipped this past last season. Well, who knows? Teddy Bridgewater's he's so bad. They wouldn't have mattered, but it's just nice to have them at home in week 8 of the season, at the beginning of November, basically. Then we go to Germany at 9:30 in the morning. So get your coffee ready. We got to go to Germany and play the Kansas City Chiefs, and all of us have to wake up at 9:30 in the morning, Eastern time, week 9, to watch the Dolphins play the Chiefs. It's going to be on NFL Network. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they took a home game from us. I hate being on the international schedule regardless. And, but it should be fun playing the Chiefs in Germany. I mean, that just sounds cool. But at the same time, like, come on. We had to get an international game. I was really hoping that wasn't going to be the case, but it is what it is. And then after week 9, we hit our bye week. A week 10 bye week is phenomenal. I actually love this schedule so far. I really do. It's going to give you a fun season. Week 11, we go home from Germany. So we go from Germany and then we hit a bye. And then we go, off the bye is a home game, which is a big time W, everybody. Coming off a bye week, and it's a home game, that's a huge dub. It's week 11, it's at home versus the Raiders, which I'm excited about, to get some revenge on them from the last time we played them. And I believe it was the overtime Jacoby Brissett game, if I'm not mistaken. When Mike Gesicki caught that wild 4th and 20, and it should have been pass interference on Will Fuller, but that's a different conversation. Then it's week 12, finally. We play the Jets on the road in New York, in MetLife. Now, MetLife, this is a 3 o'clock game, which is interesting. Now, MetLife, it is what it is. Out of all of the AFC East road games, I would, and I'm not. This is not shade, and maybe it is shade actually. Maybe it is shade. I would rather play the Jets on the road if I had to pick. What AFC East rival would you want to play on the road in November or December? I would say the Jets. So it's nice to have them. This is also an Amazon game at 3:00 in the afternoon. So I guess if you have Twitch, fire it up in week 12. Oh no, this is the Black Friday game. Excuse me. I'm sorry, guys. We play the Jets on Black Friday. No wonder it's an Amazon game. So I guess why isn't this a primetime game then? Weird. Anyway, why wouldn't they put that on primetime? Anyway, it's weird. After week 12, and just to point this out, I think the biggest W of the schedule is we get home games against some of our toughest opponents in December, which is great, especially in the division. We haven't gotten that the last 3 or 4 years. All of our other opponents have. New England has got us on the road and late in the year, and so has Buffalo. And thank God that flipped this year. I don't know what the heck the schedule maker. That should be every 2 years. It should flip. To be fair, I don't know why we've been doing that with Buffalo. It feels like for like the half a decade. Like, I don't know why they kept doing that. Like, oh, you're on the road against Buffalo again in December. It's like, why? It's just not fair. So it's nice that flipped this year. All right, so moving on from the Jets on Black Friday in Week 12, we play the Washington Commanders on the road in Washington. Should be fun. It's Washington's not so good, so they had a good, decent front seven. Oh, not decent. It's pretty good front. I swear to God, every set. But I say this to say that I don't know what I want to really mean. If you look at Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen's stats, you're like, oh wow, these stats are phenomenal. But then you actually watch the Commanders' defense play, and it's like, I don't know. It's just not as impressive as everybody says it is. Maybe it's better this year, but every year it feels like they say that about their defense, and then I watch them play, and I'm like. And also, it doesn't matter if your quarterback sucks. So if Sam Howell is your starting quarterback, then it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so after Week 13, going on the road to Washington, we come home on a Monday night game versus the Titans. I've hated the Monday night broadcast for it seems like 10 years now. Ever since John Gruden left and Mike Tirico left, it was bad. It was definitely less than 10 years, but. Dude, Gene Steratore and Booger McFarland was not great. All right, so it's nice to have Troy Aikman and Joe Buck do it now. And obviously, if you like the Manning cast, if you guys are big fans of that, you can watch that as well. So it's cool to see the Dolphins on Monday Night Football. I think we still hold the record for most appearances. Maybe that's diminished over the last few years, but we used to hold the record for that for most Monday Night Football games. But at home versus the Titans, which is rare. Usually we play them on the road, but it's nice to have them at home. This is why the schedule is big, everybody. And then we get the Jets at home in December. So, again, this is a big deal to get these games at home late in the year. We play the Jets. It's a 1 o'clock game. I don't know why they didn't make those games prime time. It's very strange. So in Week 14, at home versus the Titans, then at home versus the Jets in Week 15, which is big. It's a big deal. And then Week 16, another home game versus the Cowboys. So a 3-week stretch of home games, which is really nice, especially at the end of the season. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. 3 home games in a row in December, that's a big dub. Then we go on the road. So this is where the schedule... Dude, honestly, this December schedule is kind of nice. So 3 games in a row at home. 3 games in a row, at home. Then the only road game we have in December is in Baltimore. And then we finish the season, which we don't know what this could be a primetime game. Week 18 at home versus the Bills. I'm sure that'll be a primetime game. I'm sure that'll be flexed in. Dude, that's awesome. I don't know why I didn't realize that the first time I looked at the schedule. But yeah, that's like the best December we've had in a long time. Like a very long time. That's really awesome, dude. So yeah, the schedule's actually kind of nice. Especially, honestly, the schedule doesn't look at the end of the season. That's what matters. Because if your team sucks, then you just suck. But you should be playing your best football at that stage at that point of the season. And maybe if you're coming off of a rut, maybe early November, mid November, you can look forward to December. It's like, okay, we have all these home games. Let's go on a run. So it could save your season. I don't think the Dolphins will be in that situation. I definitely, unless something drastic happened, like injuries or something like that. But they have too good of a team to be in that situation. Anyway, great schedule. The biggest deal is that we play a lot of these teams at home in December, and a lot of the tough games are on the road earlier on in the year, which is nice. They've been kind of killing us with that. I don't know why Buffalo gets that treatment that they get a ton of home games in December over the years, but it's nice to see that they're not getting that this year. I can't. When was the last time we played them at home in Miami in December? I would love to know. Was it the David Fells game? Was that the last time we did that? I don't even remember. But yeah. Anyway, it's nice to see that flipped. I almost forgot to run through that. Anyway, that's it. The show is over. If you've made it 36 minutes into this and listened to us, God bless you. Because I don't know how many people would have done that. T-breaths. I hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe we talk about Dalvin Cook next week. That would be awesome. Or another tackle, maybe. So I'll see you guys in the next one.